Amazon always, to me at least, when I was learning it, when I was, studying it and doing all that stuff and working with these brands, it felt like this was okay. This is the first step. You put your product on Amazon, then you market on social media, and it just Amazon handles the brunt work of building this brand early on. Of they do the shipping. You don't have to worry about shipping. You don't have to worry about finding a 3PL and all this stuff. And they help with promotions and they help with trust. People aren't going to trust your own website more than they trust Amazon. So it just I agree. Maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be good for brands. Maybe brands will start to be what's that phrase that's like been thrown around? Like hard times create strong people. Maybe it'll be hard times create strong brands, and strong brands create more revenue. I don't know, something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
can see everyone saying that at
Like
this time.
iron forges iron, or iron strengthens iron, all that kind of stuff. Maybe they're trying to make them stronger and
They
more
can
developed before they
push
get on.
through.
Yeah, so they can do more on Amazon.
But
I don't know,
yeah,
but it
I
just
think, like,
seems crazy.
it does seem crazy, but I think all of these challenges are gonna, they could kind of push some of the smaller, less sophisticated sellers out of there, and the ones that succeed are the ones that have teams and have
Right,
processes in place to manage this stuff.
right.
I spoke with a client today who does 150 million, mentioned tariffs. He wasn't really concerned, didn't have much to say. Spoke to another client today who does 150K a year and they think their life and their business is over. And
Right.
totally, totally fair to feel that way. They invested
Yeah.
all their money to build this business and now they're like, shoot, I can't afford to get that container back.
Right.
So it definitely feels like Amazon can be trying to push some of the smaller fish out of the water.
Right. And it's be interesting to see how it goes. It's always one of those things that we can't do anything about it. And as much as we complain, we can't do anything about it. I at the same time trust a little bit in Amazon to know that they know what they're doing. Um, and we'll see. We'll see how Prime Day goes this year. We'll see how Prime Day goes. Maybe next year will be more like when the full effect takes in. And I'd be curious to see if they won't ever share the metrics, but I'd be curious to see how many accounts are open by this time next year, or how many new accounts are opened in 2026 versus in 2025 over the course of the full year. I wish they would share that, but
I
yeah,
agree. I think that the barrier to entry is definitely getting to be increased.
right.
That barrier to entry for sure. And then, like, I don't know about you, but like a large amount of my clients, like majority are, sourcing their products, manufacturing in China.
Right.
Do you guys, is that kind of the same on your
Yeah.
side? A lot of mostly in China. And how are your clients dealing with the tariffs? Like what have been the conversations that you've had?
It's same thing kind of with you, where like it's split, where some people are like, okay, we're gonna make less this year on on a per product basis, but like, oh well. And some people are like, I can't afford to keep you guys because it just doesn't make any sense. To be
Yeah.
completely honest, they're like, we're worried about this. This is when this kicks in, it's gonna be like very tricky margin wise. And we've got a few different strategies to kind of necessarily combat this. We're looking at a lot internally of how to help our people that we love, that we are partnered with, or help our partners that with brands that we've worked with for a long time, that we want to make sure that they're able to stay on and keep going. So it's interesting. Again, it's really just kind of a shame that this is the way it has to be with these tariffs. I Yeah. So we've got a few different ways again to combat some of them, and to um, like I said, to really help. And one of the ways you can go around this a little bit, kind of, not really, but Shopify is obviously other
Yeah.
marketplaces that don't charge as much as Amazon. They don't have as many fees. Is going to be an easy, not an easy out, but an easy way to say, okay, well, we can make more per item if we go on Shopify. And I know Amazon isn't or it's not as big as your Amazon account, but it's less per item. So we're also recommending a lot of AWD to start checking this out and saying, okay, maybe this will reduce your costs, instead of your current shipper, or just leave it in Amazon's hands, because they're always going to get pallets. They're always going to get products across because that's just who they are. They're Amazon. So they might be help. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like, it's gonna depend on the seller and the situation. Like, I think everyone is going to look where they can cut their costs. Some people are running to the agency and saying, "Hey, let's cut the agency," whereas that actually might be a bigger problem in the long run, right? Could lose you more money than the tariff situation. There's other people who are, going the AWD route. I've spoken to sellers who are like, "I'm gonna start trying to save money and doing FBM." Sellers feel like, I think there's so many different things that people are doing, and it's like, no one a lot of these people, like, I feel like you're just trying and seeing what works. I will say, to give a shameless plug, on the Carbon6 website, we actually have a free tariff calculator. So anyone listening, like, you can go in there, plug in your numbers, and it will break down the tariffs by different country. You put in your unit cost and your quantity and the Section 301 tariff percentage, it will break that down for you.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
That's a nice plug. I'll make sure
Yeah.
I link that. I'll throw that in the description down below so you can click on that,
Perfect.
instantly to get on there, for the
Yeah, I
episode.
think people are I mean, the numbers can be scary, but I think it's really helpful for sellers to really be able to forecast what's
Right.
happening.
Absolutely, and I would expect nothing less from Carbon6 and the team. So
No,
that's
because
great. It's a great tool. I'm going to check that out myself. So
we are on the ball. I was actually
yeah,
reading some data just before I jumped on here, about 1P, and it was saying 1P products, they make 40% of Amazon sales, right? But out of that 40%, 25% of that inventory comes from China. So that's like one fourth of Amazon owned and shipped, sold by is coming from China. So, you know, sellers is one thing, but it'll be interesting to see how this actually affects Amazon too. Like if they're gonna keep doing the same type of purchase orders.
well, I know they were trying to what like kind of almost roll out, or not roll out, but get out of a lot of vendor accounts. That was a big thing, maybe about a year ago this time.
And you
Uh,
guys do that a lot. Like you're really strong at
oh yeah,
transitioning 1P back to 3P.
yeah, and I remember when, we had a big influx of people saying, "I need help. My vendor account got shut down, and they told me they're not gonna be buying any more products." So, yeah, we have a lot of experts that are very talented at that transition, that switch, from the 1P to 3P and taking back control of your brand or even just, again, if Amazon cut you out, you don't wanna be, left out to dry. So, yeah, no, we're still very, very good at that. It's definitely slowed down. I think they might pick it back up if these tariffs, like you said, if one fourth of the products, that Amazon is managing is coming from China, then maybe they're just like, okay, we don't. It's not really worth it for us anymore. We're not making enough.
That's what
So
I'm thinking. Maybe I'm curious, like, if some of those are gonna transition back to 3P. I actually have heard this week that there's kind of another push coming in from Amazon of those, vendor accounts getting shut down. I just had someone reach out to me
interesting.
earlier this week telling me. So there could be an influx of people coming. I think it's a very different business model, right? Like selling as a vendor to Amazon, purchase order, they manage everything versus doing it. So I am not surprised at all that people need experts like velocity sellers to get that seller side going. It's just such a different business model.